In this lesson, we'll learn about the different tools for creating type inside Illustrator. Alright, now one of the areas that Illustrator really excels is going to be the creation and the manipulation of type. People use Illustrator all the time to create really great logos, so this is an important area of Illustrator that you should really focus on. Now, before we go too much further, I want you to understand that there's really two types of text that we can create here in Illustrator. We have point type, and then we have area type. Now let's go ahead and just hit the T on our keyboard to grab our type tool, and I'll show you an example of both of those here. Let's just go ahead and zoom in sort of on this area in the center of our artboard, and I'm just going to take my type tool, it's right here in your toolbox, and I'm just going to click on our artboard one time. And you can see that I've inserted a flashing text insertion cursor. So let me just go ahead and begin typing. Let's go ahead and type some text here. And this is actually considered point type because we have dropped a point on our artboard and we begin typing. Now we could actually type this text on forever, and it's actually going to continue on in a straight line until we actually hit enter and carry it to the next line. So in order to carry this to a second line, we're going to have to insert a hard return. Now that may be great for inserting small amounts of type into your document, but if you're looking to type in large amounts of copy, whether it be paragraphs or even pages of type, then what you really want is called an area type box. Now let me just go ahead and grab my type tool again here, and we're going to type the same thing, but we're going to draw in an area type box. So I'm just going to click and I'm going to drag here and just pull in a basic box. Now notice here that we have a flashing cursor in the center of our box, so we'll just type in the same thing, and that is essentially an area type box. So now area type box is really great because, well, let's just take a look at how we can resize these two type options. Let me go ahead and show you what happens when we resize an area type box. So I'm going to actually just click here and stretch that box around some, and you can see here that the type is staying stationary. Now if this type were to reach the boundary of our box here, it's actually going to automatically wrap to the next line, and we don't have to actually do anything to force it down to the next line. And you can see here by stretching this box out, we're not actually resizing the type. Now I want to come over here and look at this point type for just a moment. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing here. Let's go ahead and grab the corner here and just begin stretching. You can see here that by stretching the corners of our our point type, we're actually deforming the type. And that may work great if that's the effect you're going for. Maybe you want to just hold shift and make it larger without deforming it. But just know that there's no area type box around this type. We're actually modifying the size of the text inside this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the area type again here. Now there are actually some options for this area type box, and let me go ahead and show you those now. I'm going to come up to my type drop down menu, and we have area type options here. Now before I select that, let me go ahead and just move this down so we can preview this as I open this dialog. It's a rather large dialog, so let me go ahead and just move this up here. Alright, so we hit the preview option here, and we can actually change both the width and the height of our area type window. And you can see here as reflected in the screen below. We can actually add a number of rows or even columns to our area type box. Let's just go ahead and add another column to it. Now notice here that we have sort of the space in between the two columns, and that's our gutter. We can actually change the size of the gutter by bumping this little arrow down here or manually inputting that here. So maybe we want that to be 1/8 of an inch. So if we come further down here, you're going to see some offset options. Now, if the first option here is actually the inset spacing, and by default it's set to 0. Let me go ahead and just get rid of that second column really fast. If we were to increase the inset spacing, you're going to see here that there's a little invisible barrier that begins to appear inside our window, and right now we have it set to 1/8 of an inch. So it's creating 1/8 of an inch of padding on the inside of our area type box. Now we also have some options here under text flow, and this just has to do with how the text is going to flow within our area type box as it moves from row to column. So let's just go ahead and hit cancel on this for right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the tools that Illustrator includes for creating type here on our artboard. So let's go ahead and look underneath our type tool here. We'll just click and hold, and you can see here that we've got a lot of different tools. We've got the type tool, we've got the area type tool, the type on a path tool, the vertical type on a path tool, the vertical area type tool and the vertical type on a path tool. So let's go ahead and just snap these out of here. I know that's a lot of different type tools, and to be honest with you, for the most part, I'd say at least 95% of the time, I'm just going to use my normal type tool because I can create both point type and area type using that same tool. Now I tell you what, let me go ahead and grab my shape, one of my shape tools here for this next part. I'm going to go ahead and grab the polygon tool, and let's just draw in a polygon here. Alright, so the next tool in the type tool set is going to be the area type tool. It's right here. Now this tool is going to allow us to click on a path and turn it into an area type box. So let me just go ahead and click on that area type tool here, and I've got my polygon. Let's go ahead and just mouse over the path itself, and let me just go ahead and click on that. Now you can see here that we now have a flashing text insertion cursor inside this polygon. So we can again begin to type inside this box, and it's going to treat it just like an area type window. So the text is actually going to wrap as soon as it hits the boundary of the box, just like so. Now if we come back up here to our type tool set, you're going to see here that the next button is for type on a path. Now we're actually going to talk about type on a path here in just a couple lessons, so I'm going to save that one for you for just a little bit from now. So let's go ahead and look here. We also have a vertical type tool. If we go ahead and just click and drag here, we can drag in another area type window, or we can create point type. Now notice I have the flashing cursor there within that box. It may be kind of hard to see, but this vertical type tool is going to do just what it says. It's going to type our text vertically in the area type window. So again, we can resize that window without deforming the text. I very rarely use vertical type, but that tool is there if you decide you need to use that. Alright, so we also have here a vertical area type tool, which is essentially going to do the same thing as we did right here with our polygon, only the type is going to be vertical instead of horizontal. Now, I wanted to show you one other thing here regarding the type tools, and that it has to do with when we have an area type box selected. So I have that selected now, and I showed you the area type options menu that we can access from the type drop down here. We can actually access that if we have an area type window selected, simply by just double clicking on any of our type tools. Just like so, and we can get to that exact same dialog. So really quick, really easy way of accessing the area type options. So in this lesson we have looked at the different tools included within Illustrator for creating both point type and area type. In the next lesson we're going to continue talking about type and look at a couple ways that we can both select and format text.